Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Nessie's Dead. We are your hosts, Spencer and Helen.
Hello.
Hello. So, this episode was not something I intended on doing quite yet.
Okay.
It was something I wanted to do, but I was not planning to do it yet, especially not this week. It is a continuation of another episode we have done in the past.
Interesting.
It's a part 2.
Ooh.
What do you think it is? Of all the episodes we've done, what am I continuing? What is part 2 right now?
New Orleans.
Oh, I wish.
The Cecil?
No. I don't know if I could do a part 2 of the Cecil, could I?
I don't know.
I don't know why I'm asking you what I could.
I don't know either.
I feel like I covered everything with the Cecil, unless
Perhaps.
there's new information happening right now. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. I can't think of anything else it could be.
Well, like the Cecil, it is going to be haunted.
Is it haunted objects?
Uh-huh.
Ooh, so you're going to cover
doing-
some?
Yeah, we're doing part 2 to haunted and cursed objects.
Oh, I love this. I really liked the first one a lot. That was fun. Also, we forgot we're 3 episodes now into season 3, so we forgot to even announce that we did our season
Trick
3.
or treat.
Yeah, there we go. Season 3, everybody. Episode 3.
I'm very excited to plunge back into our haunted and cursed objects.
I am too.
So these ones actually, I'm pretty familiar with all of them already. The research was pretty easy to do because a lot of these I looked into for the previous episode. Now, for anyone who has not yet listened to the previous episode, definitely go check that out. In that one, we talk about James Dean's car that was cursed. We talked about
big box.
the Dybbuk box.
Yeah. A vase.
The Bassano vase, yeah. Now, this one is a little bit more thematic, I feel. I have it kind of sectioned by theme. And the first one is going to be a piece of jewelry. So we are going to be talking about the Delhi Purple Sapphire. Do you know this one?
No, I have no idea.
So this comes from India. It all starts in 1857 during the Indian Rebellion, which was a major uprising against British rule at the time.
Okay.
Now, during the revolt, there was a British soldier who, I don't know how, but he comes across a temple. It was actually the temple of Indra, and Indra is a Hindu god associated with weather and war. Now, when this British soldier stumbles upon this, he notices a beautiful purple stone that ends up being referred to as the purple sapphire. But it is not actually a sapphire. It's actually just a piece of amethyst. I don't know why it is referred to as a sapphire.
Did they think it was at the time?
That's my best guess, is that the guy who stumbles on it is like, oh, it's got to be a sapphire.
Yeah.
But it's just amethyst.
Okay.
But when he finds it, he decides to take it for himself. I feel like stealing from an ancient temple, like there are plenty of legends and stories about this where you don't do that, you know?
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be taking anything from there.
No, especially a temple that is associated with a god that rules over war.
No.
Probably not a very chill, easygoing entity, I assume.
No, it doesn't sound like it at all.
So this British soldier takes the stone and he takes it back with him home to England. Right when he returns home, he starts having all these financial issues. He at first just kind of assumes oh, I've got, that this thing went wrong. Maybe I counted the numbers wrong, or he didn't think too much of it.
Mm-hmm.
But then the financial issues kept getting worse and worse until he and his family reach absolute financial ruin and are impoverished.
Damn.
But he did not think it had anything to do with the stone. But then his family members start to get really, really sick. I did not find any reports of him getting sick. He just seemed to have a lot of weird bad luck. But his family members kept getting really, really ill, and they couldn't figure out why or what it was. And it was around this time that they started looking back at the stone, and they're like, okay, maybe the stone is bad luck. Maybe it's bringing all this to us.
I mean, it took them long enough.
Yeah. Well, I think the family was pretty convinced, but the guy, the soldier who took it, I don't think he was totally convinced quite yet. He holds on to the stone a little bit longer while, his life is falling apart. A friend of his, for whatever reason, asks to borrow the stone. And he's like, yeah, sure, whatever. Well, that friend then commits suicide.
No.
Yeah. So this was like the final straw. And this guy's like, okay, this is cursed. We have a curse because of the stone. I have to get rid of it.
Well, I would hope so at that point.
Yeah. So in 1890, I don't know if he sells it or just gives it up, but he gets rid of it. It ends up in the possession of a scientist named Edward Hiron Allen. Edward was very interested in the occult, but not because he believed in it. He collected these occult items with the intention to scientifically disprove them.
Oh.
So that was his interest in the stone.
Oh, okay.
So when he gets the stone, I think right away he has it set into a ring. Not long after, he starts having bad luck. Again, I don't know what type of bad luck. I couldn't really find that in the research. It was all just issues,
Generalized bad luck.
Very general.
Mm-hmm.
But he starts to notice he's having all this bad luck. And I don't think he wants to admit that it is the stone. In 1902, a friend of his asks to borrow the ring, which is weird. I don't know why everyone is asking to borrow the stone, but Edward is like, yeah, sure, borrow it, whatever. Once the jewel was out of his possession, his life goes back to normal. No more bad luck. Everything's like fine and dandy, but the friend that is borrowing it is experiencing bad luck.
Mm-mm.
So the friend's like, okay, here's the stone back. Take it. I felt like it has bad energy. Right when Edward got the stone back, his bad luck comes back as well. Then from there, another friend of his asked to borrow it.
Yeah, why does everybody want to borrow this?
I know. Why is he like, yeah, okay, it's cursed, but have at it?
Maybe it also brings an attraction to it as well. The curse?
Probably. That's probably what inspired the guy to steal it in the first place.
Yeah, which would make sense.
Oh, like a temptation,
yeah,
kind of thing. This other friend of his borrows it, and they were a professional singer. After they had the stone, they never were able to sing again. I don't know if it was like their voice didn't work or if their career just fell apart, but the singing was done for them.
That's so awful.
So when he gets the stone back, he is totally convinced of the curse. He finally believes in it. Out of frustration, he decides to throw it into the Regent's Canal in London. So it's gone, it's lost to the water, and he is free of it. So he thinks. Only a few months later, the ring emerges in the water. Somebody, like it washes up or something. Some person finds it, and they're like, oh, wow, this is a really nice ring. I'm going to take it to a local jeweler. I don't know, maybe they'd sold it to a jeweler or just thought like, oh, someone must have lost it, so I'll just take it to a nearby jeweler and see if they can help out with it.
Oh, perhaps.
I would have kept it.
Yeah, me too.
And then we would have been cursed.
Exactly.
But they take it to this jeweler, and the jeweler is looking at the ring and realizes that he's the one who set the stone in the ring. And he's like, I know who this belongs to.
No.
Yeah. So he thinks he's doing the right thing and brings it back to Edward.
Oh, no. Poor Edward. He's probably like, are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah. And like, what are the odds of all of that? That is crazy.
That is.
So Edward is obviously shocked that the ring makes its way back to him. And he decides that he cannot get rid of it, so he has to lock it up. He locks it away in a box, and then another box, and another box. He ends up locking it up within 7 different boxes, kind of like a Russian doll.
Damn. He was not taking any chances with that.
No, not at all.
I wouldn't either, though. I probably would have thrown it away again, though.
Yeah, like go to like Hawaii and go to a volcano.
No, I would have like put it in a garbage bag inside of a bag, and then just thrown it away.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, also within those 7 boxes, he filled it with, quote, good luck charms to help, I guess, protect him. Then he hid it away in a safe at his bank. So with it in those boxes, he left a note instructing that it cannot be opened until 33 years after he dies.
Oh,
I have no idea why he chose 33.
that's very
But
specific.
yeah, very specific. Also on the note, he claims that the stone is, quote, accursed and is stained with the blood and the dishonor of everyone who has ever owned it.
Dramatic a bit, though.
I know. So then he died in 1944 when his daughter inherits his estate. She does not wait the 33 years to open it.
Oh, no, she
But
did.
nothing happened.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she just ends up sending it to a museum.
Interesting. Maybe the energy left? Got bored?
Maybe. It seemed like it, maybe because he died and it was seemingly drawn to him, kind of.
I don't know. That's weird that it just. How long did she have it, though? Maybe she didn't have it long enough to experience anything before she gave
Oh,
it.
maybe she was afraid of it and was like, I'm just getting rid of it right now.
Perhaps, yeah. That would make sense. So it just sits in a museum?
Correct.
You know what museum?
Yes, it's sitting in London's Natural History Museum, but it is not on display. It is in a glass case down in their special vault collection. So it is hidden from public.
What's the point of a special vault collection, though? Because then nobody can ever experience it or see it.
I think maybe to just keep it safe.
I guess, but I don't understand why a museum would have a special vault collection that nobody can experience.
Or like why the Vatican has a bunch of secret books in their underground library that you're not allowed to access except for a handful of books, and you have to be escorted.
It's weird. The Vatican knows too much.
They do.
Mm-hmm.
But the workers who work with this vault in the Natural History Museum, they have claimed that nearby objects will start moving on their own and that they'll feel like sick or uncomfortable when they're near the stone. They'll occasionally experience cold drafts of air when nearby it.
Okay, so it didn't lose anything. I'm thinking maybe she didn't have the stone long enough to get any repercussions from it.
That's my best guess.
Yeah. Ooh, because it sounds like it's still pretty powerful.
Yeah, I think so. I think this one's genuinely cursed.
Yeah, me too.
And I think taking it from the temple, especially because he was a British soldier, and this was within the colonization of India, and he stole from a temple. I think maybe cursed isn't the term I would personally use, but
pissed off.
It's like the spirit of that land is like, you took this under just really not cool circumstances.
Pissed off.
Yeah, and it's like, I'm going to disrupt everything until I'm put back home.
Oh, they should return it. Is that temple even still there, though?
I'm not sure, but I think that it should go at least to a museum in India.
Yeah. At least return it back to its homeland. I believe that one.
I know you do.
Every single one of these. I'll be like, I believe it.
Every one of these you will believe.
I know. I'm a sucker for stuff like this.
You are. Now, this next one is going to take us into our next little segment. So this was actually recommended to me by bestie Kathleen, so shout out to her. So now we're going to talk about paintings.
Ooh, paintings. Interesting. I'm curious to what Kathleen knows about cursed paintings.
Well, I don't know. She didn't recommend any particular ones, just the idea. She was like, you should do cursed paintings. And I was like, okay, yeah.
That's a good idea, though.
It is. And I looked at these before, but for whatever reason, actually, one of them I was actually scared to talk about. And that's why it never made it into the first episode.
Are we going to talk about that one?
Yes, we're going to talk about that one.
Yes. Let's see if anything supernatural happens like it did when we did the Dybbuk box.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Well, the first painting we have is The Hands Resist Him. Do you know about that?
No. For somebody who loves haunted objects, I feel like I know nothing about the lore of haunted objects.
You love your dolls.
I know.
And your murder house paintings.
Yeah, those are mine too. Okay, continue.
So this is a painting done by artist Bill Stoneham. It was done in 1972. The painting depicts a young boy wearing a blue shirt, standing next to a small female doll, and in her hand is a battery with exposed wire. They're standing in front of a door with glass paneling, and behind the doors are disembodied hands pressing up against the glass.
Oh, I think I know this one. Send me the photo.
You probably do. It's a really famous one. It's considered, I think, the most famous haunted painting or cursed painting. I guess this one would be considered a haunted painting, not
Okay.
cursed. So I just sent you the photo of this painting.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I've seen this. I didn't know she was holding an exposed battery, though.
Yeah, I never really noticed anything in her hand, to be honest, until doing the research.
Yeah.
And to me, it kind of looks like a can of spray paint.
Yeah. But now I see.
Yeah, the artist, he said that it's a battery.
Yeah, when you zoom in.
But the artist also explained that the painting is actually of him as a child. So his parents took a photo of him, and he was standing next to a real little girl, not a doll.
Mm-hmm.
It was him and this little girl in front of his grandma's house. That was the inspiration for the painting. However, he decided to make the girl a lifeless doll. He also explained that the door behind them with the hands is symbolic of the veil between our world and the dream world, and that the hands can be interpreted as all the different possibilities that can happen in those other dimensions.
Oh, and I see with the moon, too, in the
Yeah.
background. Okay.
The female doll is supposed to act as a guide for the little boy through this other reality.
That's very intricate.
It is. Not at all what I would have personally
No,
first interpreted from it.
not at all.
But the painting was first displayed at a gallery in Beverly Hills. It caught the attention of a local critic who I think ran a piece about it. And then there was an actor, John Marley, who just totally loved it. So he purchased it right there at the gallery. However, both the critic and the buyer died within like 4 years. A lot of people don't believe that that has anything to do with the painting and that it was just a coincidence. However, it is too odd to not address.
Yeah. What was it exactly 4 years or just like about? Please.
One of them died 2 years after. The next one died like another 2 years after,
Oh,
I think.
okay.
So the actor that purchased it, John Marley, after he died, the painting kind of disappeared for quite some time. And then it ended up resurfacing behind some random art gallery several years later, kind of like with the trash. And people were like, was this just like being tossed out?
I find it very interesting when people find rare art and stuff in like a thrift store or something, and then it turns out to be something that's been missing for so
I'm like,
long.
when can I find that?
I know.
But from there, it ends up kind of disappearing again, but then resurfacing in 2000 when it's posted for sale on eBay. And this is when it kind of takes off as an urban legend. It blows up on eBay and makes its way to creepypasta. Everyone's talking about it online. So in the listing, the people who were selling it described that their children were afraid of the painting because they claimed that the figures in it, the boy and the doll, were coming to life at night and climbing out.
Oh, yeah. I remember that part of this.
So you do know it.
Yeah.
Okay. The sellers also went on to explain that they set up a motion sensor camera in the room to show their children that nothing was coming out of the painting. However, when they watch the footage back, they see an entity come out of the painting. And the entity actually, like when you like look at it, it's the little boy coming out. They also described that the little girl, the doll, she's holding a battery, like we said, but in their footage, it looks like she's holding a gun.
At this point, has the guy that painted it, has he passed?
No, he's still alive.
Oh,
I think he's
okay.
still alive now, too.
Oh, okay. I was going
But
to have an explanation for that, but never mind.
yeah, the people who listed it, I guess they also posted snapshots of this footage showing the boy coming out of the painting. I did not see that, but everyone says that that is what the original listing did show in the photos. The listing also includes a disclaimer saying that the people selling it are not liable for anything that happens to the next buyer.
I wonder if they set it up so that they could get more money for it.
Yeah, it doesn't sell for that much, though.
Oh, really?
Especially for some original art with some supposed lore. But before it sells, they're getting like hundreds of views on the page. All these people that are viewing it are writing in claiming that they're having paranormal occurrences in their home after they look at it. It ended up being sold for $1,000.
That's still a pretty good chunk of change.
Yeah, it is. That was 2000, so that would be a little more now.
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of expected maybe for it to go for a tiny bit more. Not that he was a famous artist so much. Not that he wasn't a famous artist, but he wasn't
Not
famous.
It does sound like if he's an unknown artist that's like not super famous, an original piece might not. I mean, it's a very odd piece too. It's very like niche. It's not like a pot of flowers or a beautiful landscape. It's something that it's creepy in itself. So I think $1,000, the lure kind of did put some more on it.
Yeah. Well, when they first listed it, they listed it at like 100 something. So with all the bids, it gained quite a bit of traction.
Yeah. But I would feel like for 2,000, probably like maybe $200-$300 would be what that would go for. So I think they did get a good bit of money by putting in the screenshots of the images and stuff.
Yeah, you're right. But it sells to a gallery owner in Michigan, and the owner claims that she's never experienced anything weird with it. However, people who come in and view it always talk about their issues and like paranormal experiences, feeling sick, and just, all sorts of stuff like that. People write in talking about after they left, weird things that happened to them. And the artist, Bill Stoneham, he actually was commissioned to do a sequel to this painting.
Oh.
And then he did a prequel to it as well. And then in 2021, he made the final piece for it. I feel like the new pieces are actually scarier looking, but they don't have the lore. Like there's lore to them connecting to the painting, but there's no like haunting lore.
I wonder if the people are just making themselves have some kind of paranormal activity with it.
Maybe. Or maybe because the painting's very unsettling. Like when I look at it, I feel uneasy, but I feel like that's the intention of it.
Yeah.
And maybe people kind of got carried away with it. And like for me, I'm all weird and artsy. So I'm like, I will have like a visceral reaction to looking at a piece of art. Like I respond crazy to looking at a designer gown. Like if I see a Versace dress, I'm like, oh my God. And like tear up. So I can understand if people were having kind of extreme reactions to the painting because of the intention of it maybe being unsettling on purpose. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's where I was going with it. Because I honestly, if something was really going on, I would feel like the museum person that bought it would be experiencing something on some sort of level.
Something.
Yeah.
I don't buy this one.
You know what? I don't either. I think it's the perception of the painting on the individual person.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's very interesting, though. And maybe those people's house was haunted or something, and that wasn't the painting. Maybe the energy was feeding off of the painting.
Because the children were already afraid of it, and the entity was trying to scare the children. So it's like, I'll just play on the children's fear.
Yeah. That makes more sense to me, because I feel like we would know a little bit more, have more than just the one incident.
I agree. But this next one has way more than just one incident.
Ooh, is this one I'm going to believe in?
Oh, yes,
okay.
Absolutely. I think there's something very weird with it. But what's even weirder is this next one we're talking about. It's not just an original piece. It's a collection of prints. So we're going to be talking about the Crying Boy painting.
I don't know if I know this one. Are you going to send me a picture?
Do you want me to?
Yes.
This one, it's not as fascinating. It's not a creepy image at all.
But I need to have the image in my head.
I am deleting the photo from my phone after I send it because this one creeps me out.
I'm going to keep mine and I want to see if anything.
I don't know. So this is a series of paintings done by Italian artist Giovanni Bragolin. I think I said that right. But that was his pen name, and his real name was Bruno Amadio. These paintings were mass-produced as prints, and there were different renditions of it, each one being a portrait of a crying boy. Some of them were a crying girl, but usually it was a crying little boy. But there was one in particular that gained a ton of attention. It was like so popular in England during the 1950s, and it actually ended up selling 50,000 copies.
Wow. Was it
Yeah.
that exact one you sent me or a different one?
Yes, that
Okay.
same one I sent you. And this particular one, for our audience listening, it depicts a young boy staring at the viewer, crying. That is exactly what all of these paintings look like, but this one in particular is the one that sold 50,000 copies. I don't know why.
Hmm.
It's not an uplifting painting, and it's not
No.
very interesting. Not that I think art has to be interesting or uplifting. I've got boring, weird art too, but I don't know. It's just a very odd piece to me. But the painting is actually connected to fires. But the weird thing is that the painting always survives.
Ooh.
So officially, it all begins in September of 1985, when a couple's home burnt down and everything was destroyed except for that painting.
Okay, I'm gonna delete the painting now.
Uh,
I
yeah, that's why when you're like, I want to see what happens, I'm like, oh,
No, I thought you meant something would be haunted or something, but I
no.
like my house, so I've deleted it.
Yeah. So a fireman that was on the scene at this initial fire, his name was Peter Hall, and he told a local paper that he had seen numerous cases of fires where everything is totally burnt, totally destroyed, except that painting. So the fireman, Peter Hall, is talking about this, telling the paper about it, and kind of sparking rumors about a curse. His brother, Ron Hall, was like really unamused with the fact that his brother was publicly talking about curses. Out of spite, decides to purchase a print of the crying boy painting and hangs it in his
Oh.
home to disprove it, the curse theory.
Yeah.
Well, right after, his house burns down.
Did he
And the
believe in
only,
it?
yeah, because the only thing that was left was that painting,
Oh.
untouched.
Ooh, I got the shivers a little bit. That's
I know. This
so
was the painting that
creepy.
I didn't want to talk about because it made me uncomfortable. But it's so it's so fascinating. It's like, how do you not talk about it?
Yeah, it's very fascinating. It's terrifying though.
Yeah, we have nothing but respect for the crying boy painting. Just a disclaimer.
Why is it urging me to like test this out? I'm like, should I get one? No, no, Helen, don't
No,
do that.
get one and place it in your enemy's home.
Well, hmm. I think we both have a name in mind.
So from there, Dora Brand buys the painting, and only 6 weeks later, her house burns down. And again, the only thing left is that painting. Then we have Sandra Krask. She buys a copy of the painting, her mother buys a copy of the painting, and her sister buys a copy of the painting.
No.
They hang it in their homes, and their homes all burnt down in separate fires.
Every single was it at the same time? Do you know, or was it spread out?
No, I don't know the time frame. I just
Mm.
know that that was the only information on that.
But still, you can't
Yeah,
find that as coincidental that your whole family,
no.
everyone's house burns down.
But it only gets weirder from there.
Oh.
So October 21st, 1985, this is only a little over a month after the first official case. A local pizza restaurant called the Parillo Pizza Palace in Norfolk catches fire, burns down, everything's destroyed except for the painting. And then October 24th, 1985, the Godpers home burns down in South Yorkshire, and the painting was untouched. But there were two paintings right next to it.
Mm-hmm.
They completely burned.
Oh, it's definitely this little boy. I wonder why. Is there a theory to why or no?
Kind of.
Okay, I'll let
But
you finish.
there's not a lot that we get into, but there are a few little theories. But
Okay.
then October 25th, 1985, so literally the next day, the Amos home in northwest England was destroyed by gas explosion.
Mm.
Everything's destroyed except for the painting.
How does the painting survive a gas explosion? Because usually that wipes out every single
Yeah.
thing.
Well, we'll talk about that, of course, but before we get into it, November 1985, there was a woman who was concerned about the curse because she too owned a print of it, and she decides to destroy it.
Mm-hmm.
Shortly after, her 3 sons and her husband all died in a fire. And she believed
No.
that it was connected.
I believe it too.
Then also in November 1985, another woman, Mrs. Woodward, she destroyed the painting believing that it was connected to the death of her son, daughter, and husband, all of which died in separate fires.
What are the odds of that?
I know. November 12th, 1985, a man named Malcolm Vaughan in southwest England helped his neighbor destroy their copy of the painting, and upon arriving back to his home, his living room had caught fire, and the firemen could not explain how.
Well, I can explain how.
Yeah. Yeah. And then on December...
Oh, it just keeps going. Okay.
Yeah. December 1985, William Armitage died in a mysterious fire at his home in Avon. When investigating what was left of the home, the painting was found untouched, lying next to the man's charred body.
Shut up.
I know.
Oh, I don't like this one.
There were a total of 50 reports since 1973 associating this painting with fire.
Do people still have this? I sure hope not.
I think so. I saw some people, I watched some YouTube videos about it, and people were like, oh, watch this, and they buy it. You can still buy it. One of the first things that comes up on Google when you search this is to buy.
Oh, that's terrifying. Do we have recent fires or no?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
But in October of 1985, when the talk of the curse was kind of beginning and people were starting to get concerned, a local newspaper was like, oh, we'll take the paintings off of your hands. They got a total of 2,005 copies of the painting sent into them. And they set them all ablaze in a large bonfire on Halloween.
What happened?
They just caught fire.
Oh, so nothing happened to the news station or anything?
I don't think so.
Interesting.
But what's really weird is that they did some testing on the painting, on the print.
Mm-hmm.
It showed that the production company used a certain type of varnish that kept it from catching fire. So that explains why the prints were not catching fire in all these homes, but it does not explain why the fires were happening in the first place. And it also does not explain why when people put the painting up in their home, a fire happened, or just the weird connections with it to fire.
And the deaths.
Yeah. Or the fact that people would try to destroy it and then their house would catch on fire. I don't know. It's really weird. And some people believe that there's some kind of curse connecting to I think a voodoo priestess or something. I saw something about some type of orphan spirit that has attached itself to the painting. But I'm like, how is the spirit in every print of it?
Yeah, that's a lot.
I don't know. It seems almost like an alternate reality sort of experience where there's
I don't know on this one because it's so many. It's not one object being passed around. It's just prints of and the picture doesn't even have a reasoning. It wasn't painted in a way that it's supposed to have a curse or it's supposed to be this image that's you're not supposed to look at.
And I was trying to find out information about the painter to see if he made comment about it. No, can't find anything.
No comment?
No.
Wow, this one's tricky.
Isn't it creepy?
It's super creepy.
This was the one that I was like, I don't want to talk about it. It makes me feel like I'm going to catch on fire.
I know. Well, for a moment there, you're like, oh, the varnish. But then it's like, but wait.
Yeah, because when I read that, I was like, oh, I just did all this research on this painting for nothing. And then I was like, but that does not explain the rest of it. It only explains the protection.
Yeah, I believe it.
I do too. For whatever it is, I believe that it's something odd.
Very odd.
So that's all I have for us on paintings. But I have one more little segment.
Okay.
And that's a special one for you.
Is it a doll?
Yep. We're going to talk about dolls.
I love it.
So I have 2 to talk about. This first one is considered to be the most famous haunted doll in the world. You can still go see it on display in a museum.
Is it Robert?
It is Robert.
Oh, I love that you've decided to cover Robert.
You asked about him in the previous Haunted Objects
I
episode.
did.
And I was like, no. And I chose not to talk about him initially because it's like so famous, so talked
It
about.
is.
I didn't want to make it too obvious. But with this one, I was like, I can't not talk about it now.
Yeah, it's our part 2.
So Robert the doll is a Steiff doll paired with a small dog, and he's like the size of a baby. For anyone who's not familiar, a Steiff doll, it's a type of German doll that was used, I believe, in stage production. They were not intended to be toys initially, and they ended up becoming collectibles. Like, they're worth a lot of money nowadays.
Yeah.
So, fun fact. But this all begins in 1904 when a man purchases this Steiff doll while on a trip in Germany. He purchases it as a gift for his grandson, Robert Eugene Otto. The man makes his way back to his family in Key West, Florida, and gives the doll to his grandson. Now, his grandson's middle name was Eugene, but his nickname was Gene. So we will be calling him Gene for the rest of the story. Gene was thrilled, and he takes the doll with him everywhere. He absolutely loved it. He even ends up naming the doll after himself, after his first name, Robert. Now, fun fact, his mother actually dressed the doll in a sailor outfit that Gene had worn as a baby. So, like most kids, he plays make-believe with the doll and is talking to him. However, the parents notice that it starts to get kind of weird. Gene seems a little bit too attached and a little bit too talkative to the doll. So if the doll was not nearby, he would flip out and have these meltdowns and just get really angry. His overall demeanor changed drastically after getting this doll gifted to him. He went from being like a normal, fun, nice kid to very angry and very anxious. And they described it as if he was walking on eggshells at all times.
That's weird.
Yeah. So one night while putting Gene to bed, his mother says goodnight. Gene was falling asleep in his bed with the doll laying next to him. As she's walking out, she could hear Gene whispering to the doll, which was normal. But then she hears a deep voice reply. And she turns around and she's like, what? Where, what is, who said that? Like, where's that coming from? What was that? Gene replies saying, Robert. So now she's kind of, I don't know what she's necessarily thinking. I don't know if she's thinking, okay, Gene's throwing his voice to sound like a monster, or if she's thinking Robert is talking back now. But she was like, all right, that was weird.
I would have instantly been like, it's the doll. This doll is too weird.
It took her a little while to get there, I feel.
Oh.
Because after this, she kept hearing that deep voice throughout the house, but she was never quite sure where it was coming from. She knew that it was not Gene doing it.
It was Robert.
Exactly. She also said that sometimes the voice would respond when Gene was playing with Robert. The voice would respond back to him, and sometimes it would
overlap him, like overspeak him.
Yeah. So from there, his parents would also hear commotion coming from Gene's room regularly, and they would run into his room. There would be Gene, kind of freaked out. There would be some broken toys on the floor, and when the parents asked what happened, Gene would just say, Robert. Now, this became quite the common occurrence. One night, they run into the room after hearing, the crazy loud noise and whatever. They come in and find all of his furniture, all of the toys, not just a few of them, everything in his room totally destroyed, including the clothes that he was wearing. And he was like in the corner shaking. They were like, oh my God, what happened? What's wrong? And he's just said, Robert.
Oh, Robert's almost like a poltergeist energy there.
Yeah. At this point, the mother is like, no. Okay, this has gone too far. This is too weird. It's definitely the doll. So she takes it, and instead of getting rid of it, which is what I would do, come on. She hides it up in the attic.
Does Gene freak out?
I think so.
He's probably scared by this point.
Yeah, I'm sure he's terrified, and there's plenty of time that ends up going by, and he does end up reuniting with it a little bit later.
Okay.
But from the attic, they're able to hear little footsteps running around.
Ew, no.
Yelling and breaking items. Gene eventually grows up. He becomes an artist, and he gets married. He has kids. His parents eventually pass. After they pass, he takes Robert out of the attic and brings him back into his life.
No.
So I guess he felt very attached regardless of the scary circumstances. They definitely had some kind of bond with each other.
See, I forgot this part that when he's an adult, he gets that doll again.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't get too crazy with him at that point. I feel like it kind of went quiet for a little while. But he does set Robert up in his art studio, sitting in a window overlooking the front yard. People who walked by claimed that the doll would move or make faces at them, and it kind of became like neighborhood lore of the haunted doll in the window.
That's really interesting because they wouldn't have known what happened when he was a child.
Yeah, the neighborhood kids, yeah.
Yeah.
But Jean's wife, Annette, she was not a fan of the doll at all, and she told her husband to get rid of it all the time. She did not like anything to do with it. She thought it was creepy, and she also believed that there was something not normal about it. She would also have nightmares involving the doll, and apparently the doll told Jean that if he was put away again, very bad things would happen.
Oh, I would believe him.
Yeah, I would too. Anytime they had guests over, the guests also claimed that the doll would make angry faces at them, and they would catch it moving out of the corner of their eye.
Oh.
So Jean then passed away in 1974, and then his wife Annette passed away 2 years later. The house ends up being purchased to a woman named Myrtle Reuter. Now, nothing was left in the house at all, except for Robert.
He's just chilling in his window still?
Yes.
Oh, really?
So when Myrtle moves in, she's like, that's odd. They kept the doll here? They took everything except for the doll?
I feel like Robert hid.
Oh, probably, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, also, Jean died first, and then his wife. So maybe the wife was like, leave that thing. But Myrtle moves in, finds the doll. She doesn't think much of it at all until her and her guests would claim to see it move around. They would see the angry faces that the doll made. She didn't have too many scary experiences with it other than the angry faces and the moving.
Mm-hmm.
But 20 years later, so she stuck it out quite a while.
Yeah, she did. She kept some dolls she found in her new house for 20 years.
Yeah, as it made angry faces at her.
Oh my goodness, that's very odd.
But 20 years later, she passes Robert along to a museum in Key West, where it still sits today, actually.
I want to go see Robert the doll.
I do too. But you have to be very careful visiting Robert. So workers and visitors claim to see the facial expressions change from, the kind of blank, empty doll face to an angry face. They also claim to hear the sound of giggles and tiny footsteps nearby. They also claim to see Robert move on his own, or sometimes they'll leave in the night and come back in the morning and he's in a totally different position inside of his locked case. There are also reports of people coming to the museum and making fun of Robert.
You don't make fun of Robert.
No. Or take photos. You're not supposed to take a photo. If you make fun of him or you take a photo, that is when bad things will happen. And there have been all sorts of bad things that have happened to people, from falling mysteriously ill, car wrecks, and other types of weird incidents like that, strings of bad luck, divorces, some cases of death even. The people that report this happening to them, they'll write letters to Robert and send them into the museum. And on the wall next to his display are all of these letters posted up of apologies and asking for Robert's forgiveness.
I really like that part of it too. I would sit there and read every single one of them.
Oh, yes. That's going to be a Nessie's Dead field trip soon enough.
Oh, yeah.
You believe Robert is haunted?
Oh, yeah. Definitely. And didn't you say he was like a stage piece?
Yeah. The type of doll was not designed for children. It was designed for display and whatnot.
I wonder if maybe a theater or something he was used in was haunted and it decided.
Oh, maybe.
Because theaters and stuff, they have a lot of paranormal activity.
I know, and I don't know why. A lot of them are really old and have crazy things happen.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of theories around Robert. There was one theory that a Bohemian woman who was working as a servant in the Otto family home gifted Jean the doll as a form of punishment, and it was possessed with some type of dark spirit through the use of voodoo. I don't really buy that story.
No.
There are also some theories of the doll it belonged to another person at one point that I think died and their spirit was in it, but I don't know. there's not like a really strong theory that I follow or any that were even very interesting or that even made sense to me, really. Maybe he's just the best for fun.
Maybe. I love Robert the doll.
I know you do.
I'd take him home.
Now, I have one more doll. This next one is also considered the most famous haunted doll in the world.
Are you doing Annabelle?
I'm doing Annabelle.
Oh, I'm excited to see your interpretation of Annabelle here.
So, for anyone who's not familiar, the Annabelle doll is the doll that inspired the movie The Conjuring and that whole franchise. Now, in the movie, she's depicted a very, very, very different way than the actual doll was.
Yeah, I don't like that they did that for the movie.
Honestly, I think it kind of takes away some of the spooky element, making it a scary-looking doll.
Yeah, me too. I think it's eerie because of what it actually is.
Yeah, the point of it is that something mundane, lifeless, and innocent associated with children is possessed by something evil. But the fact that the movie made it look evil and realistic, it looked like a little girl, not just like a doll, to me it made it seem too cheesy.
Yeah, it took away from that element.
But the real Annabelle doll might not look scary, but definitely has some scary powers that we're going to get into.
Yeah, so the real one's just a Raggedy Ann doll.
Correct.
Yeah, a big one though.
Was she big?
She's a good size.
Well, I think Raggedy Ann dolls they're like long.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're gross.
I love them. I had a Raggedy Ann doll when I was a kid, and I used to love to watch the Raggedy Ann cartoons.
There was a Raggedy Ann doll movie that I liked as a kid, and they were like playing in a winter wonder world. That's all I remember liking of the Raggedy Ann experience. When I was a kid, my Nana gave me a Raggedy Ann doll, and I opened it, and I started crying.
Oh, no. I would have loved it. My favorite one was a little blind girl gets a Raggedy Ann doll, and then at the end, she helps her learn how to see the world around her without her eyes, to use her heart.
Oh. Well, I feel like this particular Raggedy Ann doll would gouge out your eyes.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. So this all starts in 1970 when a woman named Donna, who I believe was in her late 20s at the time, she receives a Raggedy Ann doll from her mother as a birthday gift. Now, Donna loved the gift, and right away when she got home with it, she sets it up on her bed. For anyone who's not familiar, a Raggedy Ann doll is a rag doll, and it's designed like a stuffed animal. They're not plastic, so it makes sense to prop it up on your bed, right?
Yeah, it's very pillowy.
Yes, it's like a pillow doll.
Mm-hmm.
After she set it up on her bed, out of the corner of her eye, she noticed it move slightly, but she thought nothing of it. She kind of just assumed that it was gravity doing its thing, right? Like the arm just kind of slid down from the position. It wasn't like stable, so it just kind of flopped, right?
Yeah, flopped.
Now, this is something that her and her roommate Angie kept noticing, was the doll just slightly moving position out of the corner of their eye, and they always were assuming the same thing. It was just gravity. It was just the doll kind of flopping down because it wasn't positioned right.
Mm-hmm.
However, they had a friend named Lou, and Lou would come over and hang out with them, and instantly, the first time he sees this Raggedy Ann doll, he's like, you need to get rid of that. That thing is creepy. They were like, it's just a doll, Lou. Like, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They should have listened to Lou.
Maybe.
But you're like, I wouldn't have.
I know. I would have kept it.
Yeah. So, like I said, they would notice the doll just slightly move here and there, assuming nothing of it. But then the doll started to change placements. They'd come home, like they would leave for work. It was on the couch. They come home, it's on a different chair, or it's in a different room. They were like, oh, that's odd. I thought I left it over here, or I thought I left it over there. And sometimes they'd come home and its arms were crossed or its legs were crossed. But when they left, that was not how the doll was positioned.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they were kind of assuming that they were pranking one another. Like Donna thought Angie was doing it. Angie thought Donna was doing it. But then they come home and sometimes they would find the doll standing up on its own 2 feet.
No, I didn't know that part was real.
Yeah. Well, allegedly real.
Allegedly.
Now, this is not the type of doll that would be able to stand on its own at all.
No.
So that, of course, is very concerning. But it only gets more concerning from there because the girls come home and find a piece of parchment paper. And this is a type of paper that they claim they did not have in their home. On it was a note that said, "Help us."
Ew.
They described it as it looked like it was a child's handwriting. This was when they started to think that something was actually going on, like that they were actually being haunted.
Wait,
But
this is when, not when they saw it like freestanding in the living
yeah,
room? Like,
yeah. Well, maybe the freestanding was paired with the writing. I'm not sure.
I would hope
But
so.
I don't think it registered to them that it was the doll. I think the doll was just like getting the experience from a ghost. I think maybe they thought there was a ghost making things move, but they noticed it on the doll.
Oh, perhaps.
That's kind of how I read it.
That makes more sense.
Yeah. But Donna is kind of creeped out, so she decides not to keep the doll in her room at any point anymore. But one day coming home from work or from school or something, she comes home and she left the doll out in the living room. But when she gets back, the doll is on her bed in her room. She's like, okay, creepy. I did not put it here. Then she notices that the doll has what seems to be blood on its chest and arms.
Oh, no.
Now, this was when they were like, okay, there's a problem. There's something up with this doll.
Mm-hmm.
And they needed help. So they seek out a local medium, as one does.
Mm-hmm.
The medium comes and allegedly channels the spirit. The spirit that was attached to the doll claimed to be a young girl named Annabelle Higgins. This was a little girl who lived on the property that Donna and Andy's apartment had later been built on. This little ghost girl claimed that she had died at the age of 7 right there on the property. There are some reports that I saw that said the little girl did not live on that same piece of land that the apartments ended up being built on, but that her dead body was found in that spot. But either way, she was connected to this piece of land that Donna and Angie's apartment sits on. Supposedly. So Annabelle, the ghost girl, she also claims that she likes Donna and Angie, and she wants to just stick around and do her little ghost thing attached to this Raggedy Ann doll, and asked if they would just care for her, which seems so sweet.
Mm-hmm.
And Donna and Angie are like, yeah, okay. I would not have bought that. Like, what kind of little ghost girl possesses a doll that has blood on it?
Yeah, and the help us.
Yeah. So I would not have trusted it.
No.
At all.
Me neither.
But their friend Lou was very uncomfortable with this whole Annabelle thing. Remember, he already was not a fan of the doll to begin with. And there was one day he comes over. He ends up spending the night. When he's sleeping, he wakes up in the middle of the night from some type of like random bad dream. He claims that he just laid there unable to move. And all of a sudden, at the end of the bed, the Raggedy Ann doll appears.
Ew.
I can't help but laugh. It sounds crazy.
I know, and he really doesn't like this doll too.
Right. So the doll climbs up the bed and inches towards him.
Oh no.
And starts strangling him.
I just can't picture the strength that this pillow doll has to strangle somebody.
Yeah.
With its pillow
while
nubs.
It's smiling with its little round eyes and triangle nose.
Yeah.
Its red stringy hair is flying all over the place as it jerks back and forth trying to strangle this adult man.
He's got little nubs. It doesn't have hands.
No, it doesn't. So poor Lou is being attacked by the Raggedy Ann Annabelle doll. He says that it was so terrifying that he blacked out.
No. Well, I don't know. That is pretty terrifying.
He blacks out and wakes up the next morning. Everything was back to normal. And he was convinced that it was the doll. He was like, Annabelle did it. Now, it does seem like he experienced sleep paralysis.
Yeah, I mean,
he wakes up from a dream, he's paralyzed, and has some scary entity attack him.
I have sleep paralysis, and I've never had anything attack me like that.
Well, I kind of feel like sometimes entities will use sleep paralysis as their little like gateway. And I feel like science just kind of writes sleep paralysis off as nothing but some like awful thing that humans experience.
Oh, it's definitely not. I've had some experiences that have proven to me that sleep paralysis definitely is more than that. I won't get into them, but also I've had sleep paralysis my whole life, and I've never had anything like physically attack me or to that degree of a vision. Definitely not. I'm not buying sleep paralysis on the doll strangling him with its nubs.
Yeah, unless maybe the doll, like maybe the entity is able to put you in sleep paralysis, and that's its like little loophole.
No,
because it's not physical.
I don't buy that because I do believe entities can put you in sleep paralysis, but I've just never heard of an account where something like that occurs. It's mostly things that you hear and see out of the corner of your eye, or it's just right there and you know it's going on and you can't move, but you can see it going on around you. Sometimes hovering, sometimes like above you, but it's never like a direct object, like from your room.
Stop laughing. I'm sorry. Not about the sleep paralysis, just about the doll.
The doll. You. But it's never. Sorry, no, it's fine. But it's never like like a personal object in your room or house that's attacking you. It's usually like that shadow figure that you see around you. I don't think
I feel like Annabelle wanted to get rid of him because she's like, you want to get rid of me, I'll take you out first.
Yeah, maybe the ghost doll attacked him to scare him.
Yeah, well, that was not the last time he gets attacked, actually.
He went back to this house?
Yeah, and all of a sudden, like, I wouldn't have returned at all.
No.
Personally. But all of a sudden, they hear some kind of ruckus happening in Donna's room. And they assumed that it was some type of, like, burglar or something. So they go in there, open the door. All they see is the Raggedy Ann doll laying on the floor, right?
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, Lou experiences this sudden, hot, sharp pain that strikes his chest. He looks down and there's blood. He's bleeding from his chest. He takes his shirt off and reveals these 7 fresh, bloody scratch marks right across his chest.
It's a demon.
It is a demon, yeah. So this was the final straw for everyone, I feel, especially for Lou. But Donna and Angie were like, okay, this is not just some little ghost girl named Annabelle. This is something far worse. So they decide they need more help, but not just a medium. They need somebody who can actually take care of this entity. And this is when Ed and Lorraine Warren get involved.
Of course they do.
Now, we have talked about Ed and Lorraine a few times on this show.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of them.
Me neither.
I don't believe that they're always frauds, but I do believe they are frauds.
Yeah, I believe they
Not
are.
always.
Not always. Not everything they say and do is fraud, but there's a good chunk of it.
I feel like they have good intentions sometimes.
Yeah.
Or had, but I feel like maybe they got carried away with stuff, or maybe the genuine psychic hunting did not take off the way they expected. So they're like, okay, let's just fabricate the rest of this.
I feel like there was a lot of elaboration done on the cases that they took over, especially the Amityville one, because we know now that that's not true, but they really did believe that that was true.
Yeah, I mean, the people who experienced that, quote, haunting were like, yeah, this was a hoax.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Ed and Lorraine are like running wild with it, which just says everything it needs to say.
Yeah.
But they get involved with the Annabelle case. And, of course, it goes on to become a movie. But they explained to Donna and Angie that this was not a ghost, but it was actually a demon that had possessed the doll, and that the demon was working its way up to possessing them. They were really lucky to have reached out to them because they explained to the girls that if they had waited any longer, the demon would have possessed them and they would have all been dead within 3 weeks.
Oh, that's a stretch, but...
Yeah. Yeah. So the Warrens offered to take the doll off of their hands. The girls quickly agree, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the Warrens are going to take the doll back to their home in Connecticut to put on display in their occult museum, which was set up in their basement. On the drive back to their house, the car breaks down a few times, and at one point, it starts swerving around all crazy, and then the brakes go out and the steering wheel like locks up or something. Obviously, they're going to crash. So in a panic, Ed sprinkles holy water that he just happened to have with him in the car. He sprinkles it on the doll and then does the sign of the cross in front of it. Once he does that, the brakes work, the steering wheel goes back to normal, and the car stops swerving and it doesn't break down anymore, and they're able to continue their drive.
Which is hard to believe because how would you have time to do that and react that way when your car is going out of control? You're just like, hold on, get your holy water out, turn around.
Yeah. Lauren's driving. She's trying to keep them from going off a cliff, and he's like, get the holy water.
Get the holy water.
So once they get the doll to their house, the Warrens have a priest come over to bless it. Now, for whatever reason, the priest leans into the doll and says to it, quote, "You're just a rag doll, Annabelle. You can't hurt anyone." So I don't know if the priest that was blessing the doll didn't believe it or was trying to intimidate the demon. But regardless, after he leaves, he is badly injured in a wreck.
Mm-hmm.
So that was odd.
Yeah, that is odd.
Now, the doll ends up being put in the basement for their museum. The doll was placed in a glass case. With it, it was paired with a Bible that was left open. I'm not sure to what text it was left with, but it was left with an open Bible. And I guess weekly, a priest would come and bless it. I guess a priest would come and bless all of their items regularly, but the main one that was like of concern was the Annabelle doll. This has been set up on display for quite some time, but I think it ended up being closed in 2020. There were some zoning issues because this museum was operated in their basement in a private home in a residential neighborhood.
Yeah, you can't really do that.
No, there were some issues with that, so it ended up being shut down. I don't know where the items went. I think Annabelle has made her way to Zach Bagans' Haunted Museum in Vegas.
I think so.
I'm not 100% sure, but I think that's where she ended up. But before she ended up there, while she was still at the Warrens Occult Museum, there was a man and a woman who came, and the man did not believe in the Annabelle case at all. So he starts like shaking and banging on the glass. He is taunting the doll. He's making fun of it. Ed shows up and is like, "Hey, don't do that. You need to leave." So the man and woman leave. They get on a motorcycle and drive off. Right after, they get in a really bad wreck. The man dies on the scene, and the woman was hospitalized for a year. That's odd.
That's odd.
But from there, Annabelle has gone on to become quite the fixture in horror with the Conjuring franchise, which I'm not a big fan of the Conjuring, honestly.
Well, when it first came out, I really did like the first one. I do like the Conjuring franchise. There's some not so good ones. I don't really care for the Nun movies as much.
I did not know that was Conjuring.
Yeah, that's part of the Conjuring universe. There's a handful of them that I really do like. I do like one of the Annabelle movies. It's not particularly, I think it's The Origin or something like that I found interesting. I do like a few of them, but I feel like a lot of people take those Conjuring movies as fact. And I don't view them as fact, so maybe that's why I enjoy them. I don't think that they're based off too much fact. They're pretty loosely for me. But yeah.
So you don't believe in the Annabelle doll?
That's a hard one. I don't know. There may be some truth to it, but I'm not buying the full story I've been given.
No. It's hard because I do believe that the Warrens will get involved in a real haunting, and then they're like, okay, say blood spewed out of the walls. And it's like, no, the only thing that happened was that picture fell. And they're like, no, blood. So I don't know. I'm sure there was some kind of haunting happening, but I don't think it was to the extent. I don't think she was strangling people.
No, I can't picture that. To me, it's just
But I
funny.
do believe in Robert. I think Robert the doll is genuinely possessed or haunted.
Yeah.
Annabelle, not really. But then again, I believe in the case with the guy who was in the wreck afterwards.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it was just embellished a lot.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think there could be some fact to it, but I think the story we're getting is, again, a nice elaboration.
So, those are all I have for you on Haunted Objects Part 2. Tune in for Part 3 sometime.
Maybe I'll do the Part 3.
Yeah, good luck, because I chose...
all the good stuff.
There's not much left.
You left me with the scraps.
There is a lot left, but they're
scrappy.
They're not the interesting ones, I thought. So out of the ones we just talked about, Robert the Doll is a yes. Annabelle's a little bit of yes, mostly no. The Crying Boy is a yes.
Yeah.
The Hands Resist Him painting was mostly a no.
Yeah.
And then the Purple Sapphire was a yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's all we have on our haunted and cursed objects right now.
Yeah. I guess with that, we'll say...
good night.
and pleasant nightmares.
Bye.
Bye.